Footscray Live.
Welcome everyone, this is Footscray Live. We're broadcasting live from the Footscray City campus. It's a whole week of fantastic stuff with the kids at Footscray City, and to kick off the week I thought it'd be a great idea to talk to one of the teachers who's instrumental in actually starting this whole thing off and allowing Making Media to come in and actually work with the kids. It's Malcolm Freitz. How are you, Malcolm?
I'm well, and thank you for the brilliant intro, Ralph.
No, you've been a terrific person to work with through this whole process. Tell us a little bit about Footscray Live and why the school wanted to get involved.
Well, as a performing arts and media teacher, I love any opportunity for the kids to engage with the wider community. And Footscray, as part of the Western Suburbs, is such a tight-knit community anyway, from parents who have local businesses and organizations, and the kids and how progressive their mindset actually is. To get involved with such a great collaboration with Making Media has been a real privilege for them to do as well, and being able to work with professionals like yourself and learning how to use industry-grade equipment and actually think with a different mindset from going out of the classroom and applying these real-life skills has been so great to see them develop over this short period of time and how professional they've actually become.
So tell us, Malcolm, how important is it for kids these days to have the real-world experiences around technology and connecting with the community, and that's what Footscray Live's all about?
Well, technology is so ever-changing. I remember when I was at university, some of the jobs that are out there now weren't even around when I was studying media at university. So it's really important for the kids to be so adaptable when it comes to being able to engage with different types of equipment and technologies that are out there. Even now, even in our media classrooms, we find that we're using the phones a lot because the kids have higher grade cameras on their phones than they do sometimes with the equipment that we use, which is just so handy. And it brings up all these different conversational tools kind of when it comes to what are our barriers to learning, what are new technologies more of a hindrance, or are they actually helping our kids be more capable in everyday life? So yeah, it's been really interesting and engaging, especially having a conversation with the kids, what they're picking up on along the way, and how to also respectfully use technology and understand kind of the power it has, especially as a form of communication.
So Malcolm, I've known you now for 6 months or so, and I've really loved working with you. I've worked in a lot of schools and dealt with a lot of teachers, and they're all fantastic in their own way. But your creativity, it doesn't surprise me that you run the performing arts program here at Footscray City. And of course, Footscray City College is so well known for its performing arts and theatre studies. The creativity around 21st century teaching and learning these days. I mean, in the past, especially when I was teaching, art and maybe dance or performing arts was the only time you could be creative. All the rest of it was pretty much industrial type teaching and learning. How does the creativity for 21st century skills, how does that transpose itself across the curriculum these days?
That's a really good question. I think I'm very lucky. I've worked at quite a number of schools before I got here to Footscray, and when I kind of landed this role here, it was kind of my dream job to start with, because they had created this elective called screen and film production, which kind of wasn't a thing at some of the other schools I taught at. I'd only taught senior level media, and so seeing how I could plan a project where the kids could plan their own documentary or short film was really great, because it was a long-based project where they had to write their scripts and develop their ideas and plan their own interviews, and it was a great process that the school had already kind of established, but there was no teacher to kick it off and run with it yet. I'm also really lucky to have such a great community of teachers that are very well encompassing in terms of, yes, we're happy to do something co-curricular. We'd love to make a documentary about our tree planting program, or we'd love to bring in the students to film our Mythbusters projects. So I think the teachers here are just as progressive as the students when it comes to trying new things and not being afraid of what the 21st century has to offer in terms of educational outcomes. And I think as a community here in Footscray, we're very flexible in terms of just going with it, really, in terms of what is this experience going to bring out of our kids.
Yeah. And of course, the journey the kids have gone on through this whole Footscray Live project is, we did some training around interviewing and hosting, and you'll hear that. I was really impressed with the pre-record day last week, where the kids implemented what they'd learnt around hosting and hand signals while they're interviewing and stuff like that, and they were all prepared to go. So I'm really excited about what's going to happen this week. But that was all pre-record, and that was all done, in the safety of the fact that we can edit everything. This week's live. Why is it so important to go live with what they've learnt?
I guess the importance of being live is kind of showing the kids that there is no reset sometimes with things that you say, and the kids are very aware and woke, I like to say, when it comes to what's going on in the world today. And they know that looking at politicians that are out there, looking at people in significant positions of power out there, mainly, as we say in some of my old English classes, the 60-year-old white men, have that idea that what comes out of their mouth can't be taken back once it's in the public view and eye. And the kids are very well versed in kind of from their debating classes in English to what they discuss within their humanities classes, that words have so much power, especially when they're live. And so it'll be really interesting to see how they've done all this preparation and hard work, and then they have pre-recorded, and from their pre-recorded stuff I've heard and listened to them, and nothing really un-PC came out of it. But as any teacher would be, I'm slightly trepidatious, but also really excited to see kind of how they're going to manage themselves throughout this week.
Here on Footscray Live, I'm Barba from Making Media Australia, and I'm talking to the teacher who was really behind the whole Footscray Live project. We're going live across our neighbourhood and across the world, and I'm talking about Malcolm Freitz being with us today, and also the Performing Arts, Head of Performing Arts, Year 10 Coordinator also here at Footscray City College. Footscray City College, plus a number of other schools in the west of Melbourne, in the Footscray region, are part of the Footscray Learning Precinct. Things are changing next year, moving to the idea of a Footscray High. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that might benefit the kids by way of choice and facility and opportunity to do more in their education than what they're doing at the moment?
Yeah. So we're moving towards a new era as of next year. Will be Footscray High School, which is a really exciting endeavour that's going to promising a lot of new challenges as well as goals for our educational community here around the Footscray local area. So this current campus here on Kinnear Street will be our year 10 to 12 campus, and our junior campus will be on Barclay Street, which was previously Gilmore College, and that will be our year 7, 8, 9 campus. But as of next year, it'll just be having our year 7s, and they're kind of our launching cohort of kids, and we're bringing on new respectful relationship and pillars of educational goals that we kind of want to instill in them. So by the time they're year 12s, we kind of have this new educational mentality that we're instilling in the kids that's very holistic and very community-based as well.
Footscray City College has been such a great school for this area, really indicative and really a snapshot of what Footscray has become over the years. I'm a Footscray man myself, Footscray boy, born and bred. My parents came here from Italy back in the mid-50s, very different place, a lot of Italians and Greeks and Yugoslav people in those days living and working in Footscray in the factories and so forth. These days, Footscray is a very different cosmopolitan sort of place. Really proud that it's been voted the 13th most coolest neighbourhood in the world by some publication.
So.
But you live in Footscray too, and you work in Footscray. Tell us about the Footscray you know.
The Footscray I know. So I moved to Footscray just over 3 years ago because I have this thing about I like to walk to work. And so when I got the job here, I was like, I need to find somewhere close by. And I've never looked back. Moving to the west of Melbourne from being a Perth boy as well has been such a great experience. And Footscray kind of has that vibe for me. Like when I lived in the UK, I lived in Tooting, which was very ethnically diverse. And from being mixed race as well, having this hodgepodge of different cultures and ethnicities and different experiences, from seeing how Footscray is slowly being gentrified and people fighting against it. I just love that cool vibe of like the old Footscray and the new Footscray, and seeing how the kids kind of fit in there as well. Because some of them have parents have businesses that have been around here for ages. We have Small French Bar, we have Cheaper by Miles, etc., which are great family-run businesses. And it's great to see how they're also embracing this new Footscray. And so I kind of love, and I envision staying in Footscray for as long as possible as well. So I think definitely Footscray has this, even though there is this old nature and generation of Footscray, the new generation is just as exciting and really wanting to bring more life into this suburb and this area of town.
You mentioned the kids, the type of kids that are coming through the primary schools and secondary schools right now. Can you describe the sort of kids here at Footscray City College?
I've always thought of our kids as very progressive and fearless. I think that's a really important word to describe our kids. They never shy away from a challenge. And I remember running my first production here at school, The Wedding Singer. And I had about 50 kids that I had to manage at once. And I feel like they just were willing to try anything. And it wasn't so much haggling the kids into crowds and working them into a chorus or whatever. It was just kind of more of a discussion and also teamwork. They really value that. And whether you ask the kids, hey, I don't have time to choreograph this number, can you guys do it for me? And they'll work along with my dance teacher, Margaret, or the voice teacher in terms of making sure they're really big on that mentorship thing from the higher years down, which is great to see.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And I just loved living in the area and, walking past and, driving past the school for many, many years, not knowing what was behind the four walls, coming in. Actually, there's a lot more than four walls around here, but coming in and meeting the kids has been fantastic. Real eye-opener for me, the type of kids coming through this suburb and this region. The pressure on literacy and numeracy in schools. The idea that some of the politicians want to go back to the age-old way of reading and writing and all that sort of stuff, which is really important, of course. Yeah. But the idea that we go down that track at the expense of creativity, at the expense of projects like this. Tell us what this sort of a project does. It's quite intense this week with the kids. They're on every day doing live shows, and at times had no time to prepare for the live shows. We're just throwing them in sometimes.
Yeah.
What does that do to the development of literacy in the kids that are part of this program?
I think in terms of that, it helps build their confidence, and sometimes confidence is the key when it comes to understanding numerical problems and also literacy. Being able to speak and have those conversational skills is so important, because sometimes especially, I'm not saying Footscray does this, I have noticed from previous schools that I have worked at that the larger the class numbers are, the less identifiable a child can be in terms of expressing themselves and having those conversational moments with their teacher or with their peers, because they might not be doing things like small group work or presentations. We've seen a rise in anxiety and stress throughout the whole education sector throughout Australia within recent years that students are suffering from, and that also leads to a lack in development of their literacy skills because they're not willing to express themselves as much. One thing that I've loved about working at Footscray is that how much of a go-getter the kids are, and even if they may suffer from something like anxiety or stress, they're more than willing to always do a one-on-one presentation with me, or will come up with some compromise in terms of discussion in class that we can use in terms of their presentation. And those discussions and those conversations help develop literacy skills, which is so important. And things like Footscray Live has been so great to see kids thinking on the spot and using that cognitive thinking in terms of being able to create conversations with people they may not know that are of different generations and age ranges to them, but still finding something so interesting in what they're giving you for this information that they can then follow on from that has been really great to see.
Having been a 16-year teacher myself back in the industrial age of teaching, but also in the last 20 years gone into a lot of schools, ran a lot of programs in schools, written curriculum and all that sort of stuff. I am a firm believer that if a child, I almost get to the point where we forget about exams and so forth. Okay, I know they're important. They're still important when you're doing, your interviews and so forth in your career down the track. But I'm a firm believer if a child can walk into a room of adults and maintain a conversation with those people, on the spot, no preparation, just literally meet the person for the first time, get an idea of what they do, and then go for 15, 20 minutes talking to that person and driving that conversation,
Yeah.
I think they're made it in life. I think if you can do that...
Definitely. They're already a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah. And so tell me about the journey the kids have gone on through the time when you first presented this idea of Footscray Live to the kids, how they reacted in the first place, and where they've come along the way and where they are now.
Yeah. So it was really interesting because with any new club or organization here at the school, and because of how big our student cohort is, I'm always running into kids that I've never worked with before, which has always been very interesting. And so it was just simply Fiona Shower, who was one of our student teachers here at school, was so amazing in terms of helping. So I have to give her a shout out. She created a Google form that we just sent out to all the kids here at school, asking if they'd like to be a part of something new and exciting in terms of working in the media. And we asked some very generic questions in terms of finding out their interests and also finding out their skill sets and what do they want to learn out of something like starting a radio station here at Footscray. And then every child got in, as long as they were willing to fill in that form, and they came to their first initial meeting. The excitement was fantastic. Until I asked them to record their voices and listen to them back to themselves. That was when the first lot of fear set in. But once they got past that, that was the really exciting thing. And when they've started understanding kind of what they were going to be contributing to in terms of Footscray City College's kind of end of an era thing, they were really pumped to get involved with. And then upon meeting yourself and actually meeting an industry professional, they became even more excited and seeing kind of the caliber of the people they'd be interviewing, knowing that they'd be seen more as professionals instead of students and put into a different kind of setting. That was great to see.
Have you seen any, without mentioning names, but have you seen any individuals really grow through this process? The process has been about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
It's been longer as far as the preparation is concerned with you, but the kids being involved has been probably about 4 to 6 weeks. Have you seen any individuals really develop over that time?
Definitely. In terms of, especially those certain kids that had that fear and trepidation at first in terms of announcing and hearing themselves on radio, I've had to say to them as well, like, I was in the same boat as you. I don't know whether I should do shout outs because some kids might get annoyed I didn't mention them. But definitely kids that I haven't worked that closely with, like Piper and Marley and Isaac and James, who you'll hear from, have all really stepped up. And when they are sitting in front of the microphone, I've been really blown away by how professional they are, and sometimes not even sounding like students. I'm just like, wow, those kids sound like grown-ups, and they can really hold their own within a discussion panel, which is great to see, and that they're willing to listen to the stories and interviews of their interviewees, and then add on their personal opinion, which is so important in this day and age, being able to express your personal opinion without also pushing somebody away when you're interviewing them.
Has anything surprised you through this whole journey?
Surprised me. I get surprised every day as a high school teacher. What surprised me is how well, I'm always love seeing this, but it still always surprises me how well my year 7s work with my year 10s and 11s has been so great to see.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I've really noticed.
And they don't look at them like a younger kid. They just look at them like one of their peers still. And that's great to see. And
in fact, this week we've got some year 8s hosting shows that have year 10s and 9s also on panels, which is fantastic too. So you mentioned before about the calibre of guests that we've got. Now let me read some of these names. And the kids drove, and we've got another one that we'd love to announce later on in the week, but we can't right yet. But
not just yet.
A massive Australian music legend that could be on Footscray Live. But these are the sort of names. Even today, Tim Watts at 9:30, the MP, the federal MP for Jellybrand. We've got also the likes of Katie Hall, the MP. For the state MP for Footscray. We've got the Mayor of Footscray, Sarah Carter, also coming in on Wednesday. We're broadcasting from the Whitten Oval. I mean, the calibre of people that are coming in have said they want to be part of it. That's got to be really encouraging for these sort of programs going forward.
Definitely. And it's also created a great buzz within the staff community as well, because they're like, wow, this is actually really interesting. Like, the kids want to talk to these people, and these people want to talk to our kids. It's kind of like, I'm quite proud, to be honest. I'm quite proud of them. So
you should be, mate. It's been fantastic. Just in closing, Malcolm, tell us what you'd like to see by the end of this week, the outcomes of what we're doing with our live week.
Well, I would love to see an increase of the listeners. So, like, if you're listening right now, please tell your friends.
Our target is how many?
We're hoping to get up to 10,000 listeners by the end of the week.
That's live and podcast too. So even if we don't get live 10,000 listeners by the end of the week, but in a couple of weeks' time, we hope that everyone's listening to the podcasts. And there's some fantastic guests. There's no reason why you shouldn't be on top of this. But Malcolm, congratulations to you. It's been a real pleasure for myself and also my producer Jody to work with your kids and your school, your teachers. Dan McAuliffe, also the librarian, who's been really into this whole thing, and also providing some great local music. So the music you hear this week on Footscray Live is local bands that have sent in their music, and we'll be playing that through the whole time.
Yeah, we've got Footscray alums Franco Cozzo at some point as well. So I'm just going to give a quick shout out to them. And I'd also quickly like to thank yourself, Ralph, and Jody for all this hard work and the volunteering that you've done. It's literally invaluable to the kids, and I can't wait to see what we turn out by the end of this week. It's
a real passion project for us, Malcolm, and thanks for letting us in to your school to be part of it. But thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
That's Malcolm Freitz, the instigator from Footscray City College, who was part of the whole program when we first started this here at Footscray City College. It's Footscray Live. We've got terrific broadcasts all today. We've got Tim Watts coming up very, very soon, the federal MP for Jellybrand. We've got local beats with Franco Cozzo at 10 o'clock. Dominique Emery from Green Collect at 10:30. Nicole Byrne from Western Hospital talking about aged care. That's going to be a really interesting one at 11 a.m. Claire Steele, an artist, a local artist in Footscray at 11:30, and a lot more. We've got Sergeant Anita Haraway and Senior Constable James Ashcross across from Footscray Police at 1:30, and of course we've got the Footscray Historical Society with Ian Johnson and also Steve Wilson later on at 2:30 p.m. It is going to be a fantastic day. I cannot wait to get the kids on and me stop talking, and let's get going with all that stuff. Well, Footscray Live here, broadcasting from Footscray City College. Let's take a break, and when we come back very, very soon, we'll have Tim Watts on Footscray Live.
Footscray Live.